say? Namaste, everybody. And I'm Seema. And yeah, so about yoga. And I used to have the misconception that yoga is about the body, but it is not about the body. It's not about losing weight. It's not about flexibility. All of this, but of the mind. It's just that you want to prepare your body so that it's able to adapt to the mind, which has to become flexible, which has to become calm, and whatever things that you want to do for the body, for the mind, your body has to follow. Because if there is no uh, like synchronicity between the mind and body, that's where all the problems start. And I have been on this journey of yoga, and as everybody else, nice form of exercise. But then I realized that's not what it is. And I was lucky enough to learn under gurus who are trained in the last Guru Shishya place in India, which is Bihar School of Yoga. And I have been trained under people who have been learning under the guidance of Saraswati ji. So whenever you learn yoga, and when I see this power yoga and this yoga and that yoga, it's all a marketing gimmick. But then like someone said, it's okay, at least people are getting some bit of it. But that's not what it is. When you go for yoga, you go with what you want to do with your mind and not what you want to do with your body. And as a teacher, that's what I try to teach people. So even if one person gets up and does myth busting in a yoga class, I mean, not many people will like you doing that. But even when I teach yoga, I say I teach only hatha yoga. If you want bear yoga, goat yoga, and whatever those fads are, I'm the wrong person. And also, I don't believe in pushing people. I let them push themselves. That's how my experience is. I keep doing the same asana again and again and again, and then I realize something has changed. And that is such a beautiful feeling. You should teach your students that. It's not like, okay, I'm able to bend more. Actually, something changes in your mind, and people should look out for that. And that's the real essence of yoga. I'm sorry I'm taking your time, but I just wanted to tell all the teachers here that give them the essence. It's not about the body. The minute that shifts to the mind, people view it differently, people have different expectations, and go for it. And I used to teach yoga in the park in New Zealand. I just gathered up my people and we had free time, and I used to teach there. I used to teach online. Right now I've just currently moved to US, and it's been just 10 months, and I would start teaching again. I had a very bad COVID reaction. I had a COVID arm which lasted some time. So I'm getting back into the practice. Yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you.
And wonderful meeting everyone. Thank you so much, Patty, for getting me into this group.
Thank you. Thank you. And don't have to feel bad or apologize for taking time because, like I told you other day, the model is not, I don't like to teach. I'm a very reluctant teacher, actually. I've been drawn, pushed into this. I don't, I quietly do myself. But Mirel, very persistently, she, through my daughter, keeps on sending word, and finally my daughter got annoyed. And she told me that don't act so smart. Whatever little you know, why can't you share? So when daughter says, I can't say no, that's how. Daughter is a weakness,
True.
right?
True.
So I started.
Yeah.
So therefore, my method is I say something because I recognize one thing, over 40 years I've been doing this business. One thing I recognize is, um, without false modesty, I'm saying what we know is very little. I mean, even after 100 years of practice, you recognize what you know is very little because when you, for example, when you start listening to Mirel or Mary explain stuff, it is stunning. It's really stunning. The other day, I don't want to share your personal experience, but you are kind enough to share certain things with me. It is astounding. You see the point. Therefore, what's the big deal if I am an older person or if I'm doing for more number of years? What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. What means is that what Manjula talks about, what Mary talks about the experience. Also, most important stuff I recognize is, thanks to my guru, I recognize is that each one of us, all the 7.5 billion people, humans in this world or more, each one of us are on our own trajectory. No two trajectories are alike or same. They may be alike in some cases, they are not same. Each one of us, based on all the residual tendencies which we have picked up over I don't know how many number of incarnations we had in the past, that momentum is taking us in an orbit, right? Therefore, it cannot be like on the one hand, I used to make fun of Sadhguru or anybody else for power yoga, this yoga, that yoga. Later, I realized that's stupid of me to do that. If Sadhguru or somebody, well, I forgot the name of the power yoga person, if they are able to brand it in a particular way, and 10,000 people are trying yoga, which they otherwise they would not have done, so be it. Everybody is going to be bound by the consequences of the actions they take. If the intentions are honorable, whatever modeling, etc., they do is fine. If the intentions are not honorable, even if I am a sadhu Maharaj sitting in Himalayas, that karma will catch me. Therefore, I understood that I should not go that particular way. Therefore, each one of us have our own respective trajectories. For what I try to do is I try to explain the meaning as I understand. Based on my experience, as I understand, I will explain. I leave it open and there's a conversation. So, Seema, feel free. Any point we can talk. I understand that sometimes we will not agree with it. That's okay. We'll beyond level. We don't want to waste others' time. We'll just leave it as open and then move forward. That's what we do. So thank you once again. Welcome. Now, normally I also ask in the beginning if people have had any specific experience which they are willing to share, because ultimate analysis, you rightly pointed out, the yoga is about us as a total structure, not just as a body. We live as body, we live as our senses, we live as our mind, we live as our intellect, we live as our experience, and more importantly, we live out the consequences of all the karma we have done so far. Therefore, holistically, we should look at ourselves, and that is where Patanjali makes a beautiful opening statement itself, saying that Chitta Vritti Nirodha is yoga. Then you let ask what exactly is Chitta. Then once you ask this question, what exactly is Chitta, then you have to start defining all the 24, 25 elements of the Sankhya model. The Purusha, the Prakriti, everything. Chitta is a constituent of two or three elements. Then you have to talk about the senses. So one single word called Chitta would lead you into defining the structure of the human being, various constituents of the human being, so that how external signals are sensed and how it is treated and dealt with, how it is understood. The word operative word understood is very important because that is where the departure starts happening. As long as you're talking about the objects which are external, it is same for everybody. As long as the signals are coming into the mind and brain, it is same for everybody. As long as eyes, ears, skin, etc. is same condition. But even if everything is identical, once the signals come and hit the mind and intellect, the way we perceive is dramatically different for different people. And that is where Patanjali starts defining, connecting with the Kapila Muni's Sankhya model, and then goes further. And that is why in Samadhi Pada, they established the principle that attaining a Samadhi is the surest way of minimizing in the beginning and sublimating over a period of time all the chitta vritti, which is the primary objective of yoga. That is the chapter which we concluded. So what we do is, see, this is more about practice and sharing the experience of the practice, and therefore, in all the sessions, I normally after this introductory speech, I let it open for individuals to come and share their experience. What's happened the last couple of weeks, because alternate Sundays we do this, other Sundays we do Bhagavata or other things. Therefore, over the 2 weeks period, have there been any new experience you want to share, etc.? That's what we do. Then we go on for the next slokas, etc. Next sutras. So, who wants to go first? Miraj?
Yes, as I mentioned to Mr. Rao, that I try to practice now more meditation, and I recognize that through these inner visions. First of all, I recognize that after a certain type of period, first the mind gets very happy and joyful, but then slowly that fades out, and how should I say? When we go in nature under the ground to the roots of the plants and flowers and trees, and we go down into the earth, and then things which are not visible, we start to see, all of these bugs and, crawling little things, and kind of, how should I say, the dislikes, what we don't like, and what we don't agree with, it all comes up, and it turns into forms. And it was very interesting as I was, doing meditation. I just did see this vision just for a minute or so, and two bugs came out from underground, and as I recognized these bugs, of course there was like I don't know the right English word suddenly. Not a dislike, but an aversion. This is the right word, an aversion to it. Um, I recognize that I heard that aversion, and I tried in the past to overcome my aversions toward anything or any kind of things, and aversion came up towards these bugs because they look like not very pleasant. And as I started to look at them, they started to become alive. And I understood inside that if I pay attention on these things, anything what happens during meditation, any kind of visions or maybe sensations also. I'm not an expert really on meditation, and I don't have a big practice. This is just like very beginning steps. Um, but long as I pay attention, I will bring them alive, and that means that I really cannot get over these things. So I cannot go behind these things. So I am at the still very weak level, even though I recognize a lot of things for myself, but I still cannot follow it because my mind is not strong enough. And I was thinking after this experience that what should I do? How should I start with one point in meditation? And I came up with the idea, which I did before, like I continue to just focus, sit on by the candlelight at night in a dark room and just focus on that candlelight. So I don't know. I will just do and continue. That's all I can say, and I don't know what to do.
Okay, good, good. I mean, these are all reported in, there's a much more detailed book called Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which we'll talk later once we finish this, which is very, very detailed on various asanas, various mudras, and what happens, etc. These kind of insects, um, feeling like insects crawling all over your body, or an ant actually biting you, these are all not only common, it's good thing. It indicates progress, frankly speaking. That's what happens. Therefore, it's very, very glad that you started or you've been experiencing this. It's a good thing. And if I have to go by what my guru said, don't bother about it. Just let it happen. One day it'll disappear. Okay. You don't try to suppress it, because trying to suppress anything is counter to the chittavritti nirodha concept. The whole idea is to be a witness and keep watching it. One day it'll go away, is what his advice to me was. That's what I'm trying to share. And very glad that you're getting these kind of experiences. Good. Mary, you want to say anything?
I would try, but it's not, I don't know how it would be. So, as always, I observe in myself my state. And when it becomes heavy and I think I'm depressed or I'm not, things aren't going well. And then I see the other extreme, and this is also where yoga can help me, asana and pranayama, and just feeling the difference, the lightness in the body and how that affects the psyche, and how the prana goes deeper and to another level. And then I'm light and there's joy, and it's, oh, I can be like this always. I wish that I could. I don't remember the other until then I experience it again. And so this oscillation and this inability to really be a master or to control, my state. And who is this today, and at this moment, and who's reacting to this, and who's negative now and positive, and so this is where yoga helps me so much. But then at the same time, it's still something that is part of my life. So this is and I've been really observing it a lot this week, because it's so stark sometimes when it's from one extreme to the other, and how I really believe that I am this now, how heavy, and oh, I can't do anything, I'm not good enough, I'm not, and then, oh, yes, I can do anything. So I'm going to stop there because there are people in the car.
Great. Manjula?
Yeah, Paddy. To me, in person, I would say like uh, on a daily basis, going over a lot of tasks, multitasking, that causes a lot of stress to anybody. So to me, in person, just to kind of calm myself down, meditation has definitely helped over a long period of time. And what I like to do is, again, like every session we talk about this, things may not happen immediately. Like if I just meditate 10 minutes, maybe my mind won't be calm enough, or I may not realize it immediately that I have achieved something. But doing it over and over, I think that is where I have found that I achieve something. And those changes, it won't just happen within few minutes. It may happen at times, but it depends on the stress level. And at the same time, like if I'm doing some kind of activity, it is also based on the result of that, right? Say I'm expecting something and that doesn't, the result is not the same as the expected, then my mind might be agitated or it may not be happy. So at those times, I think I need more meditational practices or something else, some kind of diversion. It could be as simple as just stepping out from that task and uh, go into the garden, take a look at the nature, or take a small walk or hike, and come back and continue the meditation or the task that I was doing. I think those things have definitely helped me in calming myself down. I think, yeah, over and over, if I keep practicing, I think I can achieve. That's what my experience is on meditation.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Seema, do you want to say anything? I mean, if at all, any experience you want to share? Hello? Oh, yeah. We can hear you. We can hear you. Manjula, can you hear her?
No, I can't hear her.
No.
I think she's on mute.
No.
Yeah, I still see her as mute. it.
Correct.
Mm.
Neither can we see her nor hear her now. Okay, I think there's a technical problem from our side, but all of you are able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, okay, until she comes back, I will, um, as always, this time I'm introducing my background. You can see, um, let me move a little bit so that you can see, you can see this, you can see that place, there's a kind of a hut kind of a thing. That is place called Uttarakashi, where one of the ancient monasteries was established. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. It's called Uttarakashi Jyotirshmat. It is called. It's in the foothills of Himalayas. And the person you see is a very interesting person. He's called Brahmananda Saraswati. Um, he's the guru of the most popular transcendental meditation guru, Mahesh Yogi, who's extremely popular in this part of the world. He is the guru for Mahesh Yogi. He walked away from his home when he was 8, 9 years old. He was born in a place called called Ayodhya in India. He walked away, but his parents, complained to police, and police searched for him and brought him back. And he kept on saying, "I'm no longer interested in this kind of." At 9, 10 years old, he was saying, "I'm not interested in all the stuff." So finally, they let him go, and he was wandering around in Himalayas, meeting all kind of sadhus and monks, etc. Until he got a guru himself, and then he was such an intense yogi. He spent most of his time in in loneliness, in caves and things like that. And then when for a long time that Jyotirmat, the monastery established in Shankaracharya in that part of the world, was without a leader for a long time. And he was such a famous yogi by that time, though he was always a recluse. They requested him a lot to come and take that position, which he refused, kept on refusing. But finally, with a lot of persuasion, he accepted that position for a few years. He nominated a successor and went away. So this is the place, which is, I thought, see, what I do is every time I try to introduce a new place because Mirel and Mary have not been to India. So I use this opportunity to showcase some places connected with yoga. Yeah. Seema, were you saying something and we could not hear anything?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, so I have been doing meditation for some time now, and then I realized that meditation is, that's my experience. When I used to do a 20 minutes, of Shambhavi Mahamudra, or 10 minutes of a walking meditation, there are so many out there. I realize it's like, eating junk food all day and just having a carrot. That was my feeling. I feel very good in the when I'm doing meditation, and then I'm back to whatever was. So when I like that meditative state. Now, what is a meditative state? When things are not bothering you, where you're not letting your mind getting disturbed by all the things, worldly things, whatever it may be that may be happening in your life, personally, professionally, whatever it may be. So what I decided was, how do I keep going in this meditative state? And I did a little bit of self analysis, and I found that of all the, you start analyzing where are your faults, where are your shortcomings, and I found that maybe the biggest thing that came out was, I'm being stressed because I'm judging. When I say judging, it could be positive, negative. It's inclusive of everything, because you expect so many things. Even expectation comes out of judgment. So a lot of things I realized was stemming out of my judgment of people, of things, of events. So I said, okay, maybe if I reduce my judgment, things will get better. And this is what I decided some 6 to 8 months ago. And believe me, it's working like a charm, where I am stopping myself before I judge. And I go back into my normal, a little bit, more passive state. And, I'm just going on doing this. And then my husband the other day said something beautiful. I was deeply stressed about one thing. I mean, my mother was critically ill. and she was in the ICU. And obviously, that is a very disturbing thing. And then he said, what are you stressed about? Are you the one who decides how long she will stay here, when she will go? This is whoever is born is going to die, and this is the time to realize it. Not like, in a esoteric way when you read a Bhagavad Gita, when you talk to people when everything is fine. No, this is the time of test where you have to surrender to God. And believe me, I actually prayed to God and I said, you know what? You brought her on this planet. I had her for as long as I did because of you. And only you have the right to take away based on whatever decisions you have or whatever karma she has. And I felt so calm. I felt so calm. So, so it's not about just, at least I believe it's not just about doing 20 minutes of some kind of meditation, and it's being in a meditative state as long as I can. That is my new goal. Instead of finding that 20 minutes to meditate, I'm finding what are the 20 things that I think are in my control, and I am trying to make judgment of, of different things and all, and I'm trying to control in the sense, analyze and say, hey, this is not in my control, that is not in my control. This is, if a person is how is, not in my control. This is not, when I start doing all of that and start leaving those controls, a little bit of more of surrender, a little bit of, let it be. It's not my place to do that, and I'm just happily doing the best of my ability. And I am finding that my effort is my reward, and that's working for me.
Correct.
And trust, and I'm an IT professional. I used to be highly strung, highly stressed out. But it's last 8 months, I'm not doing meditation, I'm being meditative, and that has kind of shifted. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Excellent. So, in fact, these things work like a magic. Some of the points you mentioned really connect to the next sutras which we are going to talk about. Particularly the statement you said, it's like eating a lot of junk food and adding and eating a couple of carrots. I think we need to catch on to that word, that phraseology. That's what we're going to talk about now. Having presented Samadhi Anubhava as a means of Chitta Vritti Nirodha, right? How do we get there is the point which we're going to discuss. And that is where the entire preparation which we need to do comes into picture. And certainly Patanjali is going to say, don't do this. Eating a lot of junk and eating a couple of carrots are not going to help you. You got to reverse the proportion. You have to eat a lot of carrots and probably only a little bit of junk. That's what he's going to talk about, which we'll see that. The second thing you mentioned about not judging is also very important because that gets connected with Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Why should there be mental modifications? Mental modifications happens primarily because you're evaluating the signal with respect to some arbitrary reference which you have in the mind, comparing them with that. That is why modifications happen. The moment you compare with a reference, particularly artificial reference, you're not going to simply deal with the difference and keep quiet. You're going to judge. Because if you don't want to judge, there is no need to compare. Judging something is implied in comparing. And therefore, if the mental modification chittavritti has to be sublimated, one of the most important requirement is not getting into judgmental mode. But then that's easier said than then. How do we get there? I mean, the only thing is, instead of saying, how do I get samadhi or how do I get chittavritti nirodha, you are not going to ask the same thing in a different way. How do I get to a situation where I'm not going to judge? That I believe is what we're going to talk today a little bit. We'll probably stop at 6:45 in another half an hour from now. Because on one hand, Mary is driving. On the other hand, I think Nirala has she teaches 7 o'clock. Therefore, we would like to close it before that. So let me share the document and let's see. Are you able to see the document?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we're talking about 2.14. Te hyada paritapa falaha punya apunya hetutvat. I think we discussed a little bit. We said that, frankly speaking, we should not only be worried about um, having strong likes, we should also worry about having strong dislikes as well. You should accept things as it comes. This is where probably the point you are mentioning about not being judging comes into picture. If you deal with things as it comes, then there is no problem. But why do we not see things as it comes? Because we are very judgmental. Now the problem is, even when we master the skill of not getting into judgmental mode, even then we lose control until we are able to reach a particular state of mind, which is called Stitha Prajnatva, being of the stable mindedness. Till we achieve that, we're going to falter. Most of the only what is important is the proportion of whether you eat 2-3 carrots and a ton of junk food, or a ton of carrots and 2 or 3 pieces of junk food. The proportion. If you are able to decrease the number of times, the intensity, the way we judge, etc., day by day, that's good enough. One day we'll come to a stage where we won't be judging at all. That is what this stage, the experience of pleasure and pain, all those things you have to get out of this, merit, demerit, etc. Parinama tapa samskara dukhai guna vritti nirodhascha dukhameva sarvam vivekana. Sarvam vivekana is important thing. You have to be able to treat all, all experiences, pleasant or unpleasant, on equal footing as painful. Painful in the sense, if you react, that is the chitta vritti is happening. So you should not think, okay, I am not reacting negatively, I'm reacting positive, that's good enough. No. The best thing is to take things as it comes. That is what is very, very important. And why? Because 2.16, Heyam Dukkham Agatam. That means this ability to take things as it comes and not get into judgmental mode would minimize and prevent the pain or the sadness which is yet to happen. That is the greatest advantage. How? Because you are not reacting to it. Why are you not reacting to it? Because you are not judging. Why are you not judging? Because you have developed a viveka, that deep insight, intellectual, experiential insight, right? That is why this becomes very important. And 2.17, next sutra goes one step further by saying, Drishta Drishyayo Samyoge He Hetuhu. Now it starts analyzing how does this not being judgmental or not reacting, how does it help to minimize the pain or the sadness which is yet to come? By ensuring that drishti drishyayo samyoga, that means falsely identifying or joining the experiencer, that is us, with the object. That is where the problem lies. That linkage, strong linkage, that I am the experiences. This is my, I'm sorry, Seema, I'm using this example because you just mentioned. I hope you don't mind. Because you think she is my mother. You are not she thinking she is an independent jiva. I am an independent entity. She is on her trajectory. I am on my trajectory. It so happened for 20, 30, 40, 50, I don't know how many number of years, both the trajectories were together. It does not mean that she is my mother or you are her daughter. It does not mean that. From this point of view, I'm saying Biologically, yes, of course, she gave birth to you. But from this spiritual dynamics perspective, samadhi perspective, you are all independent entities. That association, identification with that particular object, experiences become the experienced. In other words, you become your mother, and therefore you tend to experience the same feeling or the status dynamism of her. That identification has to be broken. Okay? Either does it make any sense? Any comment? Any one of you want to say anything?
How can that identity be broken? Because this identity has been established for so long, and especially if it's a mother child identity, it is like the strongest identity. So is there any way, how do you try and break that identity? It's the most difficult one, from where I'm seeing.
Correct. That is where Viveka comes into picture. How does the deep insight come in this particular case? By deep analysis. What does deep analysis give? Now, the associate which you're talking about, maybe for 30, 40 years, perhaps, let us say 40 years experience, you and your mother together, 40 years, let's say. You think I've had 40 years identity of togetherness. How can it be whisked away? How can I pretend that there is no such identity? Now, this happens because your identification with this particular body which you got, which is called Seema. You think you are Seema. That is where the problem lies. The reality is you happen to occupy a body which is called Seema now, in this last, I don't know, whatever your age is. You have existed for I don't know how many thousands of, 10,000s of years or whatever, as a non-Seema before, several other incarnations. Likewise, after your time as Seema is over in the earth, you will exist as a non-Seema going forward, I don't know how many thousands of years until you get the final liberating moment. That means, why should you choose this 40 years of identity as Seema as dominating 40,000 years of your existence as a non-Seema? That that clinging to this particular identity, which is valid for a very tiny portion of your continued existence for thousands of years, is the problem. That is what Viveka comes into picture. Once that Viveka comes in, happens to you, then you understand. It is like, for example, you are not bothered beyond a limit to what happened in the altercation you had in your office as a project manager with your boss or with your client. That does not dominate before beyond a little bit of wastages at home, because you recognize that's a role I played for 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours per day, and that's not me. It's one of the roles I play. The same way, if there is a realization that your identity as a Seema is a small little fraction of your long journey over thousands of years, then this associative identity as a daughter of a person will also be viewed in the same light. In other words, it all comes from a conviction that this existence of ours is one of the many existences, and I don't have to attach beyond a specific level sanctity to this relationship.
Just a question. So you're saying this in relation to my mind getting disturbed, right? Because there are other things you have, since you have the body, okay, you have a duty towards whatever is associated with this body in this time and space as this entity today that I am. So that would have its certain demands, and I need to, like, that's my mother, I am also a mother, right? So I have to perform my duty but with a detached emotion is what I'm hearing. Am I hearing right?
Almost right. It is. I'm not saying detached.
Yeah.
I'm saying with a clear understanding that all this interaction which you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
which you declare as your duty and you own, etc., is only from the point
Yeah.
of view of your existence as a Seema, the mother, wife, the project manager, etc. As long as that understanding is there, because I'm not saying you give up everything. Detachment, because can be construed as giving up everything. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying be involved, but recognize, just as you know very well, good, bad, ugly happens. Project manager is not what is happening to Seema the wife or Seema the mother. As you know, you have a very clear. Though one role in the other a little bit, but beyond that you don't allow it. The same way you.
बोल बे
That's it.
वो तो
Yeah.
प्लेन में बैठ गया
But who's that?
Ordered and seated. Yeah, please, put your, like put on your.
Mute.
So, so Mr. Rao, what you're saying is that attachment to the body, right? Is that it?
Identity, more than the body, identity as a body. Yes.
Yeah, identity as a body. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other comment? Manjula?
Yeah, here I think I would agree because we have to realize this is the role, whatever it is. So as long as we know that, I think it becomes easier for us to kind of separate out the two. Yeah, that attachment is always there. We cannot get so easily detached, especially when it is a mother daughter or any kind of relationship within a family. So yeah, once we have that kind of awareness, saying this is my duty and this is all I could do as a daughter, as a role that I'm playing as a daughter, I think it becomes easier. Yeah, again, it won't happen all of a sudden. You have to get into that mode of and put that effort for realizing all these that comes with it, right? Yeah, it takes some effort, and also like over a period of time, I think it could be some kind of maturity level or experience that we go through that makes us realize, okay, this is my role and this is what I have done, and I'm happy with that. So yeah, these are my thoughts.
Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else? I don't know, Mary is able to talk, or how is it? Okay. So what I will do now is I will probably move to defining, because Seema has joined now, she may know it already, but still, for going for 2.18, 19, 20 onwards, we need to understand the structure as per Sankhya model. I will show that, talk a little bit, and come back to this 2.18. Yeah. So can you see this? Can you all see this?
No.
No?
No, I cannot see either.
Why? What happened? Does it change or no? It doesn't change at all.
No, when I got disconnected and I connected back, I couldn't see the screen even like few minutes ago. Okay, now I see it.
Now you see it?
Yeah.
Do you see it changing?
Yes.
Can you see this now?
Yes.
Viral?
Let me just hold on. Oh, I cannot see it. Hold on.
Manjula, can you see?
Yes, I can see that blue and white screen.
Yes. Seema, can you see?
I see you, Mr. Rao.
Why is it like doing like this? Seema, can you see this the chart? Unshare and share it again. It's always funny. Stop sharing. share again. Can you see now?
Yes, that was
Yes,
better.
yes, yes.
Okay, good, good. Now we can see. So for whatever reason, I have to unshare and share again. Okay. Simon, can you see this? Are you there? Or we lost her?
Mr. Rao, Mary just sent me a message that she lost connection and she's trying to reconnect.
Okay, okay, okay. Then why don't we stop then? I think with so many people having difficulty, should we stop?
Maybe not yet.
Not yet. We'll
No.
continue. Okay, Seema, are you there still? All right. I mean, she's not there. Okay. So all of us know this. I projected it for her benefit. We saw this, right? The Sankhya Mara, we talked about Purusha, Prakriti, Mahatattva. The Buddhi, Manas, Ahankara put together is called the Chitta, right? And we talked about the gunas and things like that. So that is very important because we're going to talk about how these, what do you call, how these things interplay. 2.18. Yep. Let's see. Now let me share again. Oh my God. I did something else. Can you see?
Yes,
Okay.
I can see. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's talk about 2.18. So prakasha kriya sthiti shilam bhutendriyatmakam bhoga bhogapa vargartha drishyam. That means bhoga, that is the experience of drishyam, what you see. Seeing is used in a very generic sense. Is how does it happen that you do it happens because there is a prakasha kriya, there is some degree of illumination happens, right? That is why then once that illumination happens, bhuta indriya, that means all the senses get agitated, activated as it were, and then these things put together is the reason as to why we start perceiving and experiencing whatever is your objects, right? The bhoga apavarga, the experience of the objects starts happening because the prakasha, the illumination, which is represents three gunas, is what the reason is. Visesha, Visesha, Avisesha, Linga Matra, Lingani, Guna, Gunapa Varnani. That means the what happens is, as a dynamism they're explaining, what happens is the gunas, what we have, that is the sattva, which is a very positively enhancing attitudes, components. Rajasa guna is hyperactive responses. Tamasa guna, which is lackadaisical, don't care, kind of lazy kind of an attitude. What happens is these things go through modifications. It could be initially Visesha or well-defined or a Visesha. It means it could be very subtle, in a very fine way. It could be Linga or a manifested, well-defined, or Alinga, as it means undefined. In other words, these tendencies, the gunas what we have, in some occasions, we can see it predominantly, should I say, manifested when well-defined, getting very angry quickly or getting very happy, etc. These are all some of the things which happens very patently, very manifestly, very clearly, well defined. But there are cases where it happens in a very subtle way internally. Like, for example, some of the biases, some of the preferences. All these things are something which does not happen with a very well-defined manner, but nevertheless it happens in a very subtle way. This is what happens. In which case, drashta, drishti matra, suddho api, pratyaya, anupashya. Yeah. So the suddhopi, even though the in our inner consciousness is untainted, it is merely an observer. Just as we say, when you take a flashlight and switch it on and pass it through a colored filter, after the filter you see the color, but as far as the torch is concerned, there's no color. It is tainted by the filter, due to which it appears to be colorful light after the tainting. Likewise, suddhopi, even though the observing internal inner consciousness is pure, unattained, unattached, untainted, even then, drishta, drishimatra, pratyaya, anupashya. That means because of these gunas activity, our inner consciousness, which is unattached, untainted, tends to take the same color as what we see. Like, for example, because of the intervening judgmental tendencies which we have, as far as our inner consciousness is concerned, it is just observing. An ant is crawling on my body is an observation. It is biting is an observation. That bite is painful to the body is an observation. Till this point, it is an observation. But because of the identity with the body, I am suffering pain. That when you come to the judgment, it is because of the coloration which is brought by the identification with the body. And that identification happens because of the dominance of gunas, which are tamasa guna or rajasa guna. Inasmuch as sattva guna keeps pointing out that you are occupying the body, you are not the body, and therefore the entity which is suffering the pain of the bite or the sensation of the crawling of the insects is the body, not you, even though it says the rajasa guna and the tamasa guna overpower it, due to which we start saying, I am suffering the pain. The experiences is pure consciousness, suddhopi, even though it is a pure consciousness, where pratyaya anupashyaya, drishti matra. Therefore, what is observed, identification of because of this dynamism of the gunas, what is observed, start coloring your inner consciousness so that the observer become the observed. Yeah. Tadartha eva drishya atma. Tadartha eva. Why all these things happening is, it is only for the purpose of the atma, the object of the experience. Is only, yeah, only for the experience of the purpose of the atma. Right? Kritartha prati nashtya anashtam padanya sadharanatvad. Right? What happens is kritartam prati nashtam apya anastam tadanya sadhana sadharanatvat. When you are able to understand that this, our true identity is that of inner consciousness, which is unattached, unconnected, untainted, and all the tainting happens because of the gunas only. Only we have that. When we start breaking that notion, what happens is this experience, right? This experience of pain, pleasure, etc., becomes unreal because sadharanatva is very unreal. It's just an observation. It just happens because kritartam pratirnashtamapi. This ability to disassociate yourself from the identity of with gunas and body, etc., has helped, will help, brother. That you will not see that. Others may still see it that way, but you will not. This is an explanation. This three sutras explanation for 2.17, I would say, where it said drishtir drishyayo samyogo hetu kya heya hetuhu. It said that this co-joining or identification of observed and observer is the reason for the problem, pains, etc. And therefore, if you master the art of disassociating this, you can avoid the future pain, future suffering is the statement 217 made. And they're trying to explain how. How? By understanding that your inner consciousness is pure, right? It does not it is only a manner because of the filters. All these things are happening on your identification is the reason why you become the object itself. Therefore, once you break it, for you, it is sadharanatvat. Coming back to 2.22, sadharanatvat. It's a very matter of, causality. It just happens. You're not too much involved in this. But for others, that is, those who are not liberated, who are not broken this bond, it will be a total identification. Yeah? Swami, Saktayo, Swarupa, Upalabdhi, Hetu, Samyogaha. Right? You guys are very silent. Any comment till 2.22?
I have a comment, Mr. Rao. For me, of course, I really don't. I mean, kind of understand what you're saying, but of course, I didn't experience. I'm very much still connected to my body. But for me, the 16, chapter 216 was a very, very important and how should I say, eye-opening sutra, because I recognize that myself, so many situations I put myself into, and just because it was, people, they expected me to do certain things or act in a certain way, and I put myself in situation which was really uncomfortable for me, meaning pain. So this pain, this sutra for me was that not just physical pain but emotional and mental pain. I should just avoid it as much as possible, and if I'm in a situation like that, not to continue further, or even in yoga practice, especially in teaching, if someone's body is not open to do certain kind of asana practice, I don't I modify and I help myself and I help them not to force that, because the body is not open and I just cause pain then. So I think for me, this was very important. And unfortunately, I have to say that to you that I am still at chapter 216. I couldn't advance any further yet.
That's okay. It takes time. Anybody else? Manjula, any comment?
Yeah, to me, the Rajas and Tamas you were mentioning, right? That kind of was a catchy point, because from what I have noticed in myself, at a younger age, probably like I was not too stressed, or maybe all the doshas were balanced. So I used to think in different terms, like there were kind of ways where I would just say ignore things. Yeah, something happened, or maybe a pain in this situation, right? I would just ignore it and I would not make a issue out of it, right? Or even mention to anybody. So I'm noticing it could be the age, or it could be other stress levels increasing, and the way I'm handling things, or maybe it's too much of multitasking. I see that these doshas are kind of imbalanced at one point, and I do see that the way I handle things now is very different from how it was before. So I think that was very catchy to me, because at one point I had even forgotten saying, like, okay, these are the doshas that I need to correct. So I think like now I can work on it and kind of see where it goes. Maybe next couple of weeks or months I can see that my behavior or action or my reaction, hopefully it will change.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
So when you come back to this 2.23, Swaswami Saktayo, Swarupa Upalabdhi Hetu Samyogaha. This Swaswami refers to one's own master, which is Purusha. Saktayo refers to Prakriti, the nature, the gunas. Swarupa Upalabdhi. What happens is this Samyogaha, Hetu is Samyogaha, the cause, the context is the Hetu means context, the Samyoga, the identification of the Purusha principle with the gunas, the Prakriti, is the reason why all this coloration happens. So Swami Shaktayo Swarupa Upalabdhi Hetu Samyogaha. The Samyoga is the cause. On why this Samyoga happens? 2.24 explain. Tasya Hetur Avidya. The reason is the identification is caused by avidya, which is ignorance. What is that ignorance? Not recognizing that as a Purusha, a consciousness entity, we are not tainted. We are merely an observer. We are not, what should I say? We are not the body, sense, and or the gunas or whatever, etc. That wrong notion is called avidya. I mentioned viveka in the beginning, the elimination of the knowledge. Opposite of viveka is avidya, non-knowledge. Tasya hetu avidya. Tad baba tad tad abhavas. Tad abhavat tad samyoga abhavo hanam tad drishehi kaivalyam. Exactly. So when sabhava, so the samyoga, the wrong understanding, wrong identification, yeah, is destroyed. Hanam means destroyed. Tadrishi, tadresha, kaivalyam. That is called the independence. Kaivalyam comes from the word kevala, only. We are only pure, we are only independent. So when we break this ignorance, avidya, that avidya, which is the root cause for samyoga, that is wrong identification with prakriti, with other elements of a structure, maha, or the senses, or etc. etc. When we break that identity, we become true, experience becomes truly independent, free. Kaivalyam, tadrishehe kaivalyam. So this is how 2.6 is answered. Anagatam. The future pain is, future sorrow is avoided. How? By breaking the wrong identity which we have with respect to Prakriti. When I mean Prakriti, I mean if you go back to that Sankhya model, there is a Prakriti, there is a Mahatattva is there, there are senses, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, all those things are there, like our body. To tell in a very simple sense, if we break our notion that we are our body, senses, intellect, and mind, which defines our respective individuality as a Paddy or Seema or Miral, etc. If you break that identity, if you recognize that we just happen to occupy this identity for maybe 60, 70, 80, 90 years, maximum 100 years, and after that we'll okay, this identity move away. When we have that knowledge, that ignorance, avidya, that, oh my God, I am only Paddy, I'm nothing else. When that avidya is broken, that avidya is the reason for all the miseries. Tasya hetu avidyaha, 2.24. When that ignorance is broken, then automatically future pain can be avoided. Like Miral pointed out, that we are able to experience for a brief moments every day, but with continued and intense practice, we will get into what is called Stitha Prajnatva, as I keep mentioning many times, steady state. The steady conviction that we are not body will happen, and when that happens, automatically all our the future pain gets erased. That is what this sutra, this particular section is all about. I think we are nearing 6:50.
May I ask a question, Mr. Rao, respectfully, please? What I would like to ask that here we go. We many times talk about that yoga is, of course, it's the mind, but I think that the ancient people and this whole practice, bodily practice, actually, I feel that if someone can overcome their bodily limitations, that means automatically that someone can break away on a much easier way, I think. Because for many people, just to sit and do meditation practice, that would mean to get to this point, just to do meditation practice and very little movement, that someone would have to sit and do like meditation practice 8, 12 hours a day minimum. So I think that yoga, the asana practice actually really is very helpful, because if I very gently and gradually, with the help of breath, can overcome and can go into those poses, which many years ago was impossible for me to even look at it, that means I can overcome my bodily limitation, and that will make me overcome my mind limitation as well. Would you think that?
Okay, I partly agree with you, because uh, personally I don't like to quantify anything like this. For example, the assertion that you have to meditate 8 to 12 hours per day is not true. People meditate 8 to 12 hours because they enjoy, not because it is necessary. They enjoy it because that is a true identity. They're able to face that. That is number one. Now, on the other hand, I totally agree with you, is saying that in a general sense, the effort which is necessary to break this false identity, the avidya, and get viveka, effort required is dramatically minimized by, like you rightly say, pranayama, yoga asanas, etc. In fact, much more, frankly, which you're going to which you're going to see in the coming sutras, because this chapter is all about how do we attain the samadhi. Therefore, the Patanjali is going to introduce what is called Ashtanga Yoga framework. That's what he's going to talk about, which has got multiple things to do, which will accelerate these things. And there again, I again agree with the other contention, other point, proposition rather, that meditation is not the only way. Rather, I would say meditation gets redefined several different ways. Sitting in a place and closing the eyes and thinking about something is one way of meditating. There's several other ways of meditating, which we'll talk about as a different methods and techniques going forward. Whether Patanjali mentions or not, we will talk about it in detail when we take up the next text, which is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which will talk about several different techniques. Not that everybody must do everything. Multiple techniques are given because people are different. Each one of us are on different trajectory. We arrived here based on several different combinations of residual tendencies. And therefore, certain things will appeal. As long as tendencies exist, there will be a choice. Certain things will appeal, certain things will not appeal. And therefore, several different techniques are given to choose what appeals to your residual tendencies, vasanas. But the moment you master this art and break this identification, avidya is broken, then everybody will converge. After getting the realization, after achieving the kaivalyam which he talks about just now, everybody will converge because they have come to the same level of recalibrated, shall we say, entity definition. Even then, there is a certain element of what is called prarabdha karma is left, and therefore a little bit of difference you can see. That is why you see that people, Sadhguru talks in a particular way, Ravi Shankar talks in another way, Shankaracharya talks in another way, etc. Because each one of them have arrived, they mastered, but they have different set of residual tendencies.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Manjula, anything to say? We'll close after this round table.
No, Paddy, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. And anybody else on the call want to say? Is Mary want to say anything or Seema want to say anything? Anybody else? Okay, excellent. So thank you very much. So since Mirel has got a class to start at 7 o'clock in a few minutes, we'll start with this today. We can continue. Obviously, next Sunday session is we'll be back to Bhagavatam, and then after 1 week we'll come back to this. So we till that time, think about it. This identification is the root cause, means how do I break the identity rather. Think about it. And once again, it's going to take a long effort, a long time, and we're going to lose control from time to time. That's part of the whole exercise. Not to worry too much. Things happen in their own speed. Okay. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Yes.